This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, June 27th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Biden and Trump prepare to face off in the first presidential debate.
The radical left. Will you shut up, man?
I'm Steve Futterman in Atlanta.
Documents surrounding a high-profile Supreme Court case posted online and then taken down. I'm Clayton Neville.
New other side of the aisle ally for President Biden. Shelley Adler explains.
The man near Chicago has rejected a deal to plead guilty to 7 murder charges in the shootings at a July 4th parade. I'm Ed Donahue.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off modest gains. Amazon became a $2 trillion company for the first time. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Texas has executed a man who kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and fatally shot an 18-year-old woman. I'm Haya Panjwani.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Showtime. Tonight, President Biden and former President Trump engage in their first debate since the 2020 election. Correspondent Steve Futterman reports from Atlanta and explains some unusual rules for the debate.
This is where it will all take place tonight. I'm standing outside the CNN headquarters in Atlanta. This evening, millions in the U.S. and around the world will be watching as President Biden and former President Trump face off in this presidential debate. They have both been preparing for days in very different ways.
Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
Rather than immersing himself in preparation like Biden has, Trump has been on the road campaigning and doing interviews. Sometimes he mocks the president, but at other times he says Biden will not be a pushover.
I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater. Yeah, okay. I don't want to underestimate him.
The two men have met before in 2020, and there wasn't much decorum.
The question is, radical left. Will you shut up, man?
But this time the format is different, which could prevent moments like that. Only the microphone of the candidate answering the question will be on. Biden hasn't been saying much this week. He has been meeting with his advisors. Reportedly, he's taking part in mock debates with his longtime personal attorney, Bob Bauer, playing the role of Donald Trump, just like he did 4 years ago.
I threw myself into the history of Trump commentary in debates, interviews, speeches.
Vice President Harris says those watching tonight will see two very different candidates.
The debate is going to make clear the contrast between our president, who works on behalf of the American people, and the former president, who pretty much spends full time fighting for himself.
We certainly know some of the issues that will come up. Abortion, immigration, inflation, Trump's role in the January 6th insurrection, and of course, Joe Biden's age. Trump has repeatedly raised questions about Biden's mental and physical abilities that could be a key issue tonight. Steve Futterman at the presidential debate in Atlanta.
A document uploaded to the U.S. Supreme Court's website, purportedly inadvertently, indicates which way the High Court could lean in its decision in a case surrounding emergency abortion care in Idaho. Correspondent Clayton Neville has details.
Under Idaho's abortion ban, which took hold after Roe v. Wade was overturned, emergency room doctors can be fined or jailed, even lose their medical license if they break the law. They can also be sued by family members if they perform an illegal abortion on a patient. There is one exception, though, that's to save the patient's life, but that does not include other health issues like infection and bleeding, which doctors say could mean the patient wouldn't be able to get pregnant in the future.
If indeed the Supreme Court upholds very practiced principle that you are entitled to get the emergency care that you need based on what your medical professional, that doctor says you need, that would be a good thing.
That's Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, who spoke at an event in Boise.
Whether the care that a professional, a medical professional says you need to stabilize your health or to save your life is an abortion or not, the bottom line is none of us wants to be denied access to an emergency room when we need it.
The federal government sued Idaho over its abortion ban, saying that ER doctors who perform the procedure are protected by the Federal Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. That law requires Medicare-funded hospitals to treat patients who come to an ER regardless of whether or not they can pay.
That's where we believe the federal law, EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment Law, protects all of us in getting medical treatment that we need. And why I continue to say, when Roe versus Wade was struck down, it impacted more than just abortion care. It impacted access to care, period.
A possible decision by the Supreme Court not expected until late this week, but the High Court has confirmed that the court's publications unit inadvertently and briefly uploaded a document to the court's website. That document, originally reported about by Bloomberg, indicated the High Court will send the case back to the lower courts, not based on merit, but based on procedure. If that happens, the ban will again be blocked in Idaho as the legal process plays out. I'm Clayton Neville.
Former GOP congressman jumped ship. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning at the National Map, and with today's forecast, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Wednesday and Wednesday night brought numerous damaging thunderstorms to the northeastern states in association with an advancing cold front, with some tornadoes even being reported east of Pittsburgh. Today, that cold front will sweep its way off the coast, bringing in more comfortable air through the day and especially at night, with lower dew points making for a much less humid feel and much nicer sleeping weather tonight from the nation's capital through New England. This leads into a rather nice Friday across the region with plenty of sunshine. South of there and still ahead of the front, the risk for thunderstorms continues for much of the southeast and parts of the mid-Atlantic through the day, with severe weather again possible, this time from the far southeastern corner of Virginia through much of the Carolinas, southern Alabama and Georgia, and even into northern Florida, where storms may bring damaging winds and localized flash flooding for the afternoon and evening hours. Otherwise, the heat continues for parts of the South today, with yet another day of triple-digit heat in store for portions of Texas and southern Oklahoma. North of there, a broad and strengthening disturbance brings the second area with the risk for severe weather today, as storms developing this afternoon and lasting into the night will be capable of producing destructive wind gusts, large hail, and some tornadoes within a wide swath reaching from the Four Corners region north and eastward through the central and northern plains and even across much of Montana. West of there, showers continue across northern Idaho, western Oregon, and much of Washington state as a new storm continues to push through the area, but drier conditions will be in store to end the work week, and the rest of the West Coast should be dry today. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. President Joe Biden has a prominent new ally in his high-stakes campaign to win over moderate Republicans and independents this fall. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
It's not often that a Republican endorses a Democrat for president, but that's what former Congressman Adam Kinzinger has done.
Today, as a proud conservative, I'm endorsing Joe Biden for re-election.
Because he says Donald Trump cannot be president again.
Donald Trump poses a direct threat to every fundamental American value. He doesn't care about our country. He doesn't care about you. He only cares about himself. And he'll hurt anyone or anything in pursuit of power.
Kinzinger becomes the highest profile Republican formerly backing Biden.
Well, I certainly don't agree with President Biden on everything, and I never thought I'd be endorsing a Democrat for president. I know that he will always protect the very thing that makes America the best country in the world, our democracy.
Former Georgia Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan also endorsed the president last month. I'm Shelley Adler.
There was a shocking and sudden change in court involving a 4th of July mass shooting case in Illinois. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Robert Crimo III refused to accept the agreement that would have sentenced him to life in prison.
Today you saw absolute, unadulterated evil.
Crimo was silent in court when asked about the plea deal. After a meeting, he was asked whether he wanted to move forward with it, and he said no. Tony Romanucci is an attorney representing the victims' families.
That's what happens when you unlawfully place a gun in evil's hand. You are going to get a reign of terror. And today, you saw that reign of terror continue.
This means a trial for Cremo scheduled for February. Karina Mendez's father was killed at the parade.
He's up there looking at us now, telling us right now just to be patient.
Many in court were left baffled by the abrupt change. I'm Ed Donahue.
When we return on America in the Morning, the summer home sale decline after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. The Business Report is sponsored by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
2 trading days left in June, the second quarter and the first half of the year. Wall Street opens this morning after some modest gains for the major averages yesterday. Amazon became a $2 trillion company by market cap for the first time. Nvidia shares ticked higher after pulling back over the past few days. One investor says after Nvidia topped Microsoft as the biggest company in the world by market value, a drawdown is a good thing.
I think it's a healthy reaction to what has been a parabolic move. You look at the stock up over 100% year to date. I think it's healthy that we're seeing these drawdowns of 10, 15%.
Deepwater Assets' Doug Clinton on CNBC. Rivian shares soared more than 20% yesterday. Volkswagen says it'll invest up to $5 billion in the electric vehicle maker. Newly built home sales fell more than 11% last month. It was the biggest monthly decline in almost 2 years.
These numbers are based on signed contracts during the month. So people out shopping and basing their decision on that mortgage rate at that time. We did see a price drop 1% year over year, so not huge. The builders, of course, have been buying down mortgage rates, but they're talking more about concessions. We've seen that in the builders' earnings reports. And then supply, we went to a 9.3-month supply from a 9.1-month supply. So supply is building. Basically, the builders have said that, people are interested but not signing on the dotted line. And what we're seeing is that the housing market is really stalling this summer.
CNBC's Diana Olick. The average interest rate on a 30-year fixed home loan, 7%, according to Mortgage News Daily.
Hey, good news for people in the market to purchase, but this hasn't always been the case with new car prices.
New car prices keep falling.
8 straight months where we have seen a year-over-year decline in prices. That's rare. You don't see that very often within new vehicle pricing. A couple of things are happening here. First of all, you've got new vehicle inventories climbing. Why? Automakers are building more vehicles, and as they are building more vehicles, the dealers have more inventory, and incentives are up substantially, on average about $3,200.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. On today's watch list, it's all about U.S. economic growth. We're going to get the new GDP, gross domestic product numbers for the first quarter. Earnings are coming from spice maker McCormick, Walgreens Boots Alliance, and Nike. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week. We also get pending home sales numbers for last month.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, Texas man executed, New Jersey police officer hailed a hero. After these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. A Texas man put to death for a brutal 2001 murder he committed. Details from correspondent Haya Panjwani.
The state of Texas has executed a man who kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and fatally shot an 18-year-old woman in 2001. Ramiro Gonzalez was pronounced dead after a chemical injection at the state penitentiary in Huntsville. The 41-year-old man was condemned to die for killing Bridget Townsend after kidnapping her from a home in a rural area northwest of San Antonio in January 2001. Townsend's body wasn't found until October 2002, when Gonzalez led authorities to her remains after he had received 2 life sentences for kidnapping and raping another woman. Gonzalez was repeatedly apologetic to the victims' families in his final words before the lethal injection began. I'm Haya Panjwani.
A New Jersey police officer is being hailed for bravery after rescuing a man from a burning home. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
I got smoking conditions.
Officer Kevin Long of New Jersey's Evesham Police Department has received a commendation after coming on this scene on June 16.
It's fully engulfed.
Smoke billowing out the front door.
Sir, where are you at?
Body cam video shows him going back in,
Can't see anything.
down a dark, smoke-filled hallway, where a man called out.
Where are you at? Right here. I gotta get this chair out of the way.
An electric wheelchair blocked the officer's way, but he reached the man stuck in a dining chair and dragged him out before collapsing on the ground himself. Both occupants were treated at a hospital for non-life-threatening injuries, while the fire was contained to the home's kitchen. The Evesham Police Department says its officers and the township's fire department demonstrated exemplary bravery and efficiency. I'm Ben Thomas.
America in the Morning for Thursday, June 27th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour. Unlike it was in 2020, Sagar Meghani reports on tonight's presidential debate.
Democrats reacting to the election loss of a well-known progressive in Congress. I'm Clayton Neville.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange returning home to Australia.
Today, Julian is free.
I'm Julie Walker.
Arrests for illegal border crossings have dropped more than 40% during the 3 weeks asylum processing has been suspended. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
A coup thwarted, a shocking development in a COVID fraud case, and a state wants to double-check its voters.
Foster children and kids living in facilities have a very famous and powerful advocate. I'm Katie Clark with details.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Severe weather expected in some areas of the nation today. Let's find out. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A large and deepening storm is expected to provide another day with a severe thunderstorm risk for much of the nation's center later today, with thunderstorms from this afternoon through the night able to create very strong winds, dangerous large hail, and even tornadoes across a vast expanse stretching from the Canadian border with Montana and North Dakota to the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles and westward to the Four Corners states. The cold front connected with this storm will bring in much cooler and drier air for Friday. Another area with the risk for severe weather will be the southeast, as a separate cold front presses into hot and humid air. Thunderstorms this afternoon and evening can deliver flash flooding and some damaging wind gusts, as well from southern Alabama through northern portions of Florida, then north and east to the Carolinas and even Virginia. However, more general thunderstorm activity can be expected on a more spotty basis through much of the south, including Tennessee, much of Mississippi, and southern Louisiana. West of there into Texas and Oklahoma, the heat remains in place under high pressure, with 100-degree temperatures again expected for parts of both states as the latest scorching stretch presses on. In the Northeast, Wednesday's severe weather gives way to a more comfortable day behind that same cold front, with the relief from recent hot and humid conditions really arriving in earnest tonight, with lower humidity lasting into Friday from the mid-Atlantic through New England. Much of the West Coast will be dry today, but a storm track to the north brings showers to the Pacific Northwest. A nicer day can be expected for Friday as more of the west dries out. In Syracuse, New York, a spotty morning shower gives way to a blend of sunshine and clouds with a high of 74. However, around Seattle, watch out for a shower in the area under mostly cloudy skies, high of 65. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
I'm John Trout. Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Tonight, President Joe Biden and former President Trump will be in the spotlight, this time with far different rules from their chaotic first debate 4 years ago, which includes no studio audience. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani has a look back at what transpired between then-President Trump and his Democrat challenger in a free-for-all amid the COVID pandemic.
As Joe Biden and Donald Trump prepare to debate, memories of their first chaotic matchup 4 years ago linger. It was civil enough as they took the stage in Cleveland.
How you doing, man? How are you?
But from there...
So let me ask you this, Joe.
No, go ahead, mister. I'm listening to you. Wait a minute. You get the final word, mister.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown.
Endless interruptions.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question is the question is
Justice, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen.
And personal attacks.
And a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So, Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart?
That was over Trump's handling of COVID.
Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
Biden ripped Trump for reportedly calling veterans like the late Beau Biden suckers and losers.
He was not a loser. He was a patriot.
Trump hit back.
I don't know, Beau. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter got thrown out of the military.
Then there was Trump being pushed to condemn white supremacists and militia groups, and seemingly doing the opposite.
Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
In all,
sir,
with $1 billion, if you
that
don't
is
get rid of
it was a free-for-all that exasperated moderator Chris Wallace.
Gentlemen, I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to be, why shouldn't I be different than the two of you?
New rules this year are aimed at avoiding a repeat, including muted microphones and no studio audience. I'm Sagar Meghani.
The primary loss for New York Congressman Jamal Bowman this week is sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party, pointing to political implications for progressives and pro-Palestinian supporters on Capitol Hill. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Congressman Jamal Bowman's linked up with the so-called squad and has been a high-profile name for progressive Democrats in recent years. His opponent and ultimately the winner of the Democratic primary, George Latimer.
He was recruited by AIPAC to run against me because I called for a permanent ceasefire very early on.
Bowman, in an interview with NBC, pointed directly to the pro-Israel political advocacy group, AIPAC. That group poured $14.5 million into the Latimer-Bowman race against Bowman, of course. Bowman's district, also with a significant Jewish population. Some say that heavily contributed. Voter turnout in the congressional district was up about 5%. Latimer won by 17 points. It was a race that got contentious at times.
You see why he's an ineffective congressman?
Why?
He argues. No, because he
people in here understand passion.
Yeah.
He's nowhere to be found.
Go ahead.
Get out of here, man.
You're nowhere to be found.
Bowman, known for pleading guilty to pulling a fire alarm in Congress as Republicans were pushing for a vote on a spending bill. Latimer described Bowman to NBC as extreme.
He is attacking me as if somehow my position is outside of the mainstream. It's his position with some of the squad members that's outside the mainstream.
Democrats blaming Bowman's loss on AIPAC, but Republicans believe it's an indication that Americans, especially Jewish Americans, won't stand for pro-Palestinian candidates. I'm Clayton Neville.
After spending more money in one primary election than at any time in their history, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee released a statement saying, quote, "This triumph by a strong pro-Israel candidate represents a major victory for the Democratic mainstream that stands with the Jewish state and a defeat for the extremist fringe," end quote. Jewish people make up 13% of the New York district's voters. Following his very fast hearing and ushering away from the U.S., WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has landed in his home nation of Australia as a free man. His overshadowing legal battles apparently behind him. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
We are absolutely delighted, after a very long and complex negotiation with the U.S. government, that we've reached this plea deal that enabled him to come home to Australia as a free man.
After pleading guilty to obtaining and publishing U.S. military secrets in a deal with the Justice Department, his wife says they're grateful he's free.
This case is an attack on journalism. It's an attack on the public's right to know, and it should never have been brought. Julian should never have spent a single day in prison. But today we celebrate, because today Julian is free. Julian wanted me to sincerely thank everyone. He wanted to be here But you have to understand what he's been through. He needs time. He needs to recuperate. And this is a process.
Assange's lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, says Australia's Prime Minister was the first to get on the phone with him when they landed.
The Prime Minister was the first person to get on the phone to speak to Julian. Julian thanked him and the team and told the Prime Minister that he had saved his life. And I don't think that's an exaggeration.
I'm Julie Walker.
Surprising twist in a COVID fraud case. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. The Department of Homeland Security announced surprising new numbers since President Biden initiated his executive order on asylum restrictions. Correspondent Haya Panjwani takes a closer look.
3 weeks ago, in the face of congressional inaction, President Biden used his executive authority and suspended the entry of non-citizens across the southern border. We are imposing stricter consequences for those who cross the border without authorization.
The department said that Border Patrol's average daily arrests over a 7-day period have fallen below 2,400 from before President Joe Biden's proclamation took effect on June 5th. That's still above the 1,500 mark needed to resume asylum processing.
We are removing more non-citizens without a legal basis to stay here, nearly doubling the rate at which we are removing non-citizens directly from Border Patrol custody here in Tucson and across the southern border.
Alejandra Mayorkas speaking in Tucson.
The safety and security of the American public is indeed our highest priority. We screen and vet individuals when we encounter them.
He added that while Biden's executive action is effective, Congress needs to step up.
I want to reiterate, this is no substitute. The executive actions are no substitute for congressional action. Only Congress can deliver a full and lasting solution.
Haya Panjwani, Washington.
A frantic several hours in the nation of Bolivia after armored vehicles rammed the doors of the government palace Wednesday during an attempted coup. With the U.S. State Department watching closely, it was just a few hours later that the Bolivian general who appeared to be behind the rebellion was arrested. The Associated Press is reporting that soon after he was taken into custody, General Zuniga said that it was the Bolivian president who told him to lead forces and storm the palace in a political move. Bolivia's president and justice minister are both denying that claim. The failed assault follows months of unrest in the South American nation, where protests have been growing over economic conditions. Bolivia's government announced it will replace the leaders of their army, navy, and air force as a result of the attempted coup. There was a surprising twist in a multi-million-dollar COVID-19 related fraud case in Minnesota. Details from correspondent Shelley Adler.
The U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI has announced that 5 people, including a man acquitted at trial, have been charged with trying to bribe a jury member with a bag of $120,000 in cash. The bribe attempt brought renewed attention to the trial of 7 Minnesota defendants accused of coordinating to steal more than $40 million from a federal program that was supposed to feed children during the coronavirus pandemic. It was one of the country's largest COVID-19 related fraud cases, with more than $250 million in federal funds taken overall. Only about $50 million has been recovered. I'm Shelley Adler.
With the 2024 election coming up in just 5 months now, the state of Tennessee is asking thousands of voters to prove their citizenship. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports on what led to that decision.
Tennessee's top election office sent letters to more than 14,000 registered voters asking them to prove their citizenship, a move that has alarmed voting rights advocates as possible intimidation. A spokesperson for the Secretary of State's office says that the list was developed after comparing voter rolls with data from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, and that some may not have been U.S. citizens when they obtained a driver's license or ID card, but have since been naturalized and likely did not update their records. The letter contains warnings that illegal voting is a felony and carries penalties of up to 2 years in prison. Democrats have long criticized the Secretary of State's office for its stances on voting issues in the Republican-dominant state, and some are asking for an investigation. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Supreme Court rules on a controversial issue about how the Biden administration may have coerced social media providers to moderate their content. Tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
The Supreme Court declined yesterday to impose limits on the way the administration may communicate with social media platforms. The legal issue was whether or not the administration had crossed the line from mere communication to strong-arming or using coercion to censor speech that the administration disagreed with. The states of Missouri, Louisiana, and 5 individuals brought case against the administration, claiming that they had violated their First Amendment rights. Conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who authored the Supreme Court's ruling, wrote that the states and the other plaintiffs lacked the required legal standing to sue the administration in federal court. Barrett went on to say the plaintiffs could not show a concrete link between the administration's conduct and any harm that the plaintiffs may have suffered. The plaintiffs emphasized that hearing unfettered speech on social media is critical to their work, but they do not point to any specific instance of content moderation that caused them identifiable harm. The ruling effectively overturned the free speech issue as to how officials encourage the removal of posts deemed to be misinformation, including those about the election and COVID. I'm Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning continues with Thursday Sports. Here's Robert Workman.
For the second straight year, a Frenchman was taken #1 overall at the NBA draft.
The Atlanta Hawks select Zachary Rizache.
Commissioner Adam Silver on ESPN. A year ago, the Spurs chose Victor Wembanyama #1, and he became Rookie of the Year. Another 19-year-old forward from France, 7-footer Alex Sarr, went #2 to the Wizards. The first U.S. player chosen was Kentucky guard Reed Sheppard, taken #3 by the Rockets. Two-time College Player of the Year Zach Edey of Purdue went 9th to the Grizzlies. Round 2 of the draft is today. Baseball, the Dodgers dominated the White Sox 4-0. Gavin Stone went the distance on a 4-hitter. Shohei Ohtani hit a leadoff homer for the second straight night, his 25th overall. He's now driven in runs in 10 consecutive games. No other Dodgers ever done that. Mets routed the Yankees 12-2 to sweep the first half of the Subway Series. 12 hits, 7 of them for extra bases. Aaron Judge hit #30 for the other guys. Orioles got by the Guardians 4-2 to snap a 5-game skid and Cleveland's 7-game win streak. Gunnar Henderson with his 26th big fly. Padres swept out the Nationals 8-5. Dylan Cease allowed just 1 hit over 7 innings. Kyle Higashioka homered twice, including his first career grand slam. He drove in 6. Astros won their 7th straight, 7-1 over the Rockies. Brewers had the brooms out for the Rangers in 10 innings. Royals scored 5 times in the 8th to grill the Marlins. Phillies tamed the Tigers. Brandon Marsh, 4 hits, a homer, and 4 RBI. Braves and Cardinals split a pair. Atlanta won the day game. Jared Kelenic, 3 hits, a homer, and 3 RBI.
I just was trying to get a good pitch to hit and stay inside it, and I got a slider down and in and just kind of dropped the head on it.
St. Louis nabbed the nightcap. Wins for the Angels, Mariners, Twins, Pirates, and Giants. Red Sox and Blue Jays rained out. They'll make it up in August. Soccer, the U.S. men face Panama tonight in group stage play at the Copa America. At Euro 2024, the round of 16 is all set. Georgia shocked Portugal in the largest upset ever in the Euros based on FIFA rankings. Georgia is number 74 in the world. Portugal's number 6. Knockout round play begins this weekend. That's Thursday Sports.
Thank you, sir. Well-known celebrity reveals child abuse in testimony on Capitol Hill. That story when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. His death may have been ruled accidental, but reports out of Hollywood say there could be charges filed in the passing of actor Matthew Perry. Kevin Carr has details.
The investigation into the death of Matthew Perry is wrapping up, and People reports a source close to the investigation has said multiple individuals should be charged. Perry died last October after being found unresponsive in his hot tub. While his death was ruled to be accidental, an autopsy determined the cause to be from the acute effects of ketamine, with drowning, coronary artery disease, and the effects of opioid treatment as contributing factors. Ketamine is a common recreational drug, but has many legitimate medical uses, including depression treatment. Perry had spent decades in and out of rehabilitation programs for drug use, and in his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, he described using ketamine.
Taking K is like being hit in the head with a giant happy shovel. But the hangover was rough and outweighed the shovel. Ketamine was not for me.
According to Friends, Perry had a ketamine infusion a week and a half before he died. Since the drug is metabolized in a matter of hours, the amount in his system at the time of his death came from somewhere else. According to People, the LAPD has been working with the DEA and the U.S. Postal Service to determine where that ketamine came from. The decision whether to press charges will be up to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Since his death in 2023, the Matthew Perry Foundation was created to help people with addiction.
This disease, addiction, the big terrible thing, is far too powerful for anyone to defeat alone.
I'm Kevin Carr.
A well-known socialite and social media personality went to Congress to speak on behalf of abused children. Correspondent Katie Clark reports on Paris Hilton's visit to Capitol Hill.
Paris Hilton spoke to Congress on Wednesday and gave a heartfelt speech about her personal experience living in youth facilities as a teenager, away from her family. She discussed the abuse she received while living at a facility, saying that her parents were unaware of anything that went on, were lied to and deceived by those in charge. She discussed her own experience of sexual and physical abuse, and even force-fed medications.
The treatment these kids have had to endure is criminal. These kids deserve to grow up in safe, family-centered environments. I will not stop until America's youth is safe. I've helped pass 9 state laws on this issue. I am strongly advocating for the federal bipartisan Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act.
Paris Hilton is advocating protections for children in facilities, including foster children, under the Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act. She addressed kids directly.
If you are a child in the system, hear my words. I see you. I believe you. I know what you're going through, and I won't give up on you. You are important. Your future is important, and you deserve every opportunity to be safe and supported.
I'm Katie Clark.
That's our show for today, Thursday, June 27th, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.